So I kind of noticed in Hell of a Boss, it's a bit of a meme played for laughs that Blitz can't really spell well, and he also has problem vocabulary. So as someone who wrote their sixes backwards in kindergarten and had to practice each spelling word 100 times or more just to pass tests with a C in elementary, I feel like I have some unique insights into what is going on with Blitz and what might be causing him to not write good. Dyslexia and developmental language disorders in general can have a wide range of severity and different causes and can affect you in 4 different ways, including spelling, reading, vocabulary, and math. And they are separated into 6 different categories by how you're affected by dyslexia. The 2 types I feel that he could potentially be experiencing are auditory and attention dyslexia, which would classify him as a dual dyslexic person, which is actually the most common type, where you're affected by more than one. Now, the reason I think he has auditory dyslexia is occasionally when other characters are talking, there will be a buzzing noise, and the words spoken will become garbled. He also complains when people talk to him in a very educated or formal way. My theory is this is attempts to show that Blitz has auditory dyslexia. Now, everyone knows Blitz has repeatedly demonstrated problems with spelling. He went so far as to use a voice-to-text generator to write a billboard, and then couldn't spell check it. That billboard was probably expensive, so if he didn't spell check it, it probably means because he couldn't. Dyslexia is often thought to only be a disability, with only disadvantages, but it actually has advantages as well. For instance, people with dyslexia can read backwards and upside down easily. This is due to their ability to see things from different angles. And their inability to recognize words normally leads them to practicing logic and problem solving every time they have to read or spell. So this can lead to people with dyslexia becoming more creative in their solutions and seeing things that others may not be able to see. Blitz definitely has that. And here's the big but. Even if Blitz does have dyslexia or developmental language disorder, and I'm not sure he does, mostly because he's a figmental character, his developmental problems could actually be exacerbated by one of Blitz's many other problems. The main one being child neglect. The very little we've seen of Blitz's family, it looks like he was in a circus and was a child performer. He likely didn't have access to normal education systems, and how many books do you think you have access to in a circus tent? There are bookshelves, are there? So his days were likely filled with learning how to perform and chores around the circus instead of going to school. And we know in the real world, child performers tend to have, let's just say, problems learning due to their strange schedule. And if they're not consciously taught, growing up to not be able to read is actually very common. So a lot of child performers grow up being lower educated and unable to read, especially before child labor laws were a thing. I believe, for example, Shirley Temple was actually forced in an ice chest until she memorized her lines, and Macaulay Culkin was actually treated very poorly as a child. So let's take that and put it in hell, and we can see where child neglect probably leads to at least some of Blitz's reading problems. Something also appears to be wrong with his mother, and his father thinks his value is $5 and a used condom. So he doesn't have much support in his education. If he does have any learning disabilities, it is compounded by this lack of access to books early in life, and the lack of guidance on how to read and write. Now, treatment for dyslexia often includes intensive training on how to process data, and brain scans of dyslexic brains show that dyslexic brains have to work twice as hard to process information due to communication issues with the normal parts of the brain that handle reading. As I've said before, when I was a child, I had to write spelling words more than anyone else in my class, but I still struggled to get a decent grade on those tests. So, judging from the show, he has actually been shown practicing spelling repeatedly. So he'll actually spell out words while he's talking. And I think that actually is one of the treatments for dyslexia, because your brain doesn't process spelling normally. So what you have to do is you have to practice it constantly, so that way your brain can make new pathways to learn how to spell in its own way. So the fact that Blitz is sitting there spelling out words either is an attempt to dissuade the dyslexia rumors, or he actually does have dyslexia and he's getting treatment. So one of the two, I don't know. But that actually is a treatment for dyslexia. Just basically brute force it. Spell words over and over and over again until it's just root memory. It's not pleasant, but it does work. Another possible reason is ego. A less generous reading of the situation is that Blitz maybe has some issues with reading, but maybe thinks it's just part of his tough guy personality, and learning is for weaker people. He's also demonstrated repeatedly a very severe dislike for the upper class and the elite. He may view reading and education as for the upper class and take pride in being a down-to-earth person not being able to read properly. It likely wouldn't start the problem, but it may exacerbate it greatly. So people underestimate the fact that being able to read has on your vocabulary and how many words you read, but you never hear. It's a lot. So being unable to read when those words are used occasionally causes problems. I think this affects Blitz's relationship, especially with Stolas and other people in a dramatic way. Stolas has a great love of books. He is always around them, and his powers are even tied to books, so yeah, his vocabulary is very high. Blitz, by comparison, can't keep up with it, and if you look at his text, it shows it's causing problems. This is probably how Stolas' text looks to Blitz. Long word, long word, long word. I need long word, long word. He then sends back a misspelled non-communal answer. I'm not completely sure he's able to read the longer text that Stolas is sending to him, at all. Blitz has even asked him several times to not use that fancy speak with him, and I'm not sure that Stolas really understands what that really means. This probably feeds into the deep self-hatred that Blitz has for himself and makes him feel like Stolas is above him. That's a problem. Their relationship will not be fixed if that continues. So is this fixable? Yes. What Blitz probably needs is language therapy and training, or somebody to just practice reading with. So my personal, headcanon is that Stolas gets the chance to teach Blitz how to read and write in the series, because, yeah, I think that would be so cute. Anyway, if you're still listening, thank you, and I hope you enjoy. Please don't forget to like and subscribe. See you later.